Friends, there comes a time in every one of our lives when certain people begin to walk away. They may have been close to us for years. They may have been people we leaned on, trusted, or even believed we couldn't live without. But I want to encourage you today, when God starts removing people from your life, don't chase them. When God removes people from your life, it's not rejection, it's redirection, because so often when we lose someone, whether it's a friend, a relationship, or a connection we thought would last forever, our first reaction is to feel hurt and to take it personally. We start asking questions like, why did they leave? What did I do wrong? Why wasn't I enough? But the truth is that sometimes it has nothing to do with what you did or didn't do. Sometimes it has everything to do with where God is taking you, and those people were simply not assigned to go with you to the next level of your journey. And if you try to drag people into seasons where they don't belong, you end up carrying extra weight that slows you down, weight that keeps you from fully stepping into what God has prepared for you, because His plan is bigger than your pain. His plan is greater than your disappointment, and when He removes someone, it's not to leave you empty. It's to prepare you for something new. When we hold on too tightly to what God is trying to remove, we end up missing what He is trying to give, because you can't receive with closed fists. You can't embrace tomorrow while clinging desperately to yesterday. And so many times, God knows that certain people were only meant to play a part in your past. They helped you grow. They taught you lessons. They may have even carried you through hard seasons. But just because they were right for that chapter doesn't mean they are right for the next one. And if you keep chasing people who walked away, you are telling God you don't trust His redirection. You're saying you believe your plan is better than His, and that mindset will keep you stuck in places you've already outgrown. Think about how a teacher walks out of the room after the lesson is done. The teacher was necessary to help you get to a certain level, but once the lesson is complete, they don't stay seated in the classroom forever. In the same way, people who leave your life may have finished the lesson they were meant to bring, and when they exit, it's not a punishment, it's a sign that you have learned, that you are ready for the next stage, and that new doors are about to open. And instead of mourning what you lost, you can begin to thank God for what you gained in the process, because He wastes nothing. Every person who comes into your life, even the ones who leave, plays a role in shaping your destiny. We've all seen times when we thought losing someone was the worst thing that could happen, only to look back months or years later and realize it was the best thing for us, because if they had stayed, we never would have discovered our true strength. If they had stayed, we would have settled for less. If they had stayed, we might have missed the new opportunities God was preparing. So when He removes people, it's not rejection, it's protection, and it's redirection, because He knows the conversations they were having behind closed doors. He knows the choices they would have made that could have derailed you. He knows the distractions they would have brought into your path, and out of His love, He closes the door before you can see the full storm. This is why you can't measure your worth by who stays or who leaves. People's decisions are not a reflection of your value. They are a reflection of their assignment in your story. And some people are only called to walk with you for a mile, while others are called to walk with you for a lifetime, and that's okay. You don't have to force people to fit into places they don't belong. You don't have to beg them to see your worth, because your worth was established by God long before anyone entered your life, and He knows exactly who you need, exactly when you need them, and exactly who you don't. So when someone exits your life, instead of chasing them, pause and ask yourself, what new path is God redirecting me toward? What new opportunities might be waiting on the other side of this loss? What growth is about to happen in me now that I have space to move forward? Because you will find that every closed door is simply guiding you toward an open one. Every rejection is a redirection, and every removal is making space for renewal. So don't fear the exit of people. Embrace the entrance of God's purpose through it. Some relationships are seasonal. Not everyone is meant to go with you into your next chapter, and the sooner we understand this, the freer we become, because so many times we try to make temporary people permanent. We hold on to friendships, relationships, or connections that were never designed to last forever. They were meant to teach us something, to support us in a certain time, or to walk with us through a specific valley. But when that season is over, when their role has been fulfilled, no matter how hard we try, We cannot force them to stay, and if we do, we find ourselves drained, frustrated, and stuck in places where God is trying to move us forward. Life is made up of seasons, just as the earth goes through spring, summer, fall, and winter. Our relationships often go through shifts. There are seasons of growth where we connect with people who water our dreams, encourage our spirit, and push us toward our best. There are seasons of pruning where we may lose people we thought were essential, but in their absence, we discover hidden strength. There are seasons of harvest where the right people show up at the right time, and then there are seasons of dormancy where it feels like no one is around. And it's in those seasons that God is preparing you in private for what He wants to reveal in public. So when a season changes, it's not a loss, it's a signal that something new is unfolding. Think of it like this. When you were in school, you had classmates who were with you in kindergarten. Some of them may have gone with you into middle school. A few might have stayed through high school. But when you graduated, not all of them went with you to college or to the next stage of life, because their role in your story was tied to that particular season, and it would be unreasonable to expect everyone who started with you to finish with you. In the same way, in life, some people are with you only for a chapter, not the whole book, and trying to keep them around after their season has ended only brings confusion. When we try to drag people into seasons where they don't belong, it's like trying to wear summer clothes in the middle of winter. It doesn't fit, it doesn't serve you, and it leaves you exposed to unnecessary pain, because when God is shifting you into a new chapter, He may also shift your circle, and not everyone can handle where you are going. Not everyone can support the weight of your destiny. Some people loved you as long as you stayed at a certain level, but when you start to grow, when you start to believe bigger, when you start stepping into who God called you to be, they no longer feel comfortable, and instead of cheering you on, they pull back. They criticize, or they simply disappear, and that is okay, because it shows you they were seasonal. There is nothing wrong with seasonal people. In fact, many times they are gifts, because they were there when you needed them most. Maybe they stood by you when you were broken. Maybe they encouraged you when you had no hope. Maybe they believed in you when you couldn't believe in yourself. But the mistake we often make is thinking that because they were vital in one season, they are supposed to stay forever, when in reality, God has already assigned new people to meet you in your next season. People who will bring the right energy, the right wisdom, the right encouragement for where you are headed. It takes maturity to release people without bitterness, to say thank you for the season you walked with me and goodbye with peace in your heart, because holding on too long only causes frustration. And what many don't realize is that sometimes God won't bring the new until you let go of old. It's like trying to fill a new cup while still clinging to an empty one. There's no room, and so the blessing is delayed. But when you finally recognize that not everyone is meant to walk with you forever, you free yourself to step boldly into the next season, open to new relationships and new opportunities. So instead of grieving over who didn't stay, begin to celebrate what they gave you while they were there. Honor the season, appreciate the lessons, and then step forward knowing that your journey is bigger than any one person. Because if they were meant to be in your next chapter, God would have kept them. But if they're not, then it means He has something better aligned for where He is taking you. And your responsibility is to trust the seasons, trust the shifting, and trust that He knows exactly who needs to be in your life for each part of your story. Closed doors and goodbyes make room for greater opportunities and the right people. Because every time something ends in your life, it creates space for something new to begin. Yet many of us spend so much time crying over what closed that we fail to notice the new door that is already waiting to be opened. We see a relationship end and we feel broken. We lose a job and we feel rejected. We watch a friend walk away and we feel abandoned. But if we could see things from God's perspective, we would realize that what looks like loss is often preparation. What feels like rejection is really redirection. And what seems like an ending is truly the beginning of something greater than we could have imagined. Truth is that holding on to the wrong door can keep you from walking through the right one. Sometimes we are so desperate to keep something in place that we ignore the fact that it no longer fits. We stay in friendships that have turned toxic. We cling to jobs that drain us. We chase after people who have clearly moved on. but the longer we hold on, the more we delay the blessing that is waiting on the other side of release, because closed doors are not meant to punish you, they are meant to protect you. They are God's way of saying that chapter is complete, and if you will stop knocking where you no longer belong, you will discover that He has already prepared a new opportunity. Think about how a hallway works. One door closes so you can move to the next, and eventually that next door leads you into a larger space. You don't spend your life standing at one door banging your fists trying to get back in. You keep moving forward until you find the door that opens, and in the same way, life is full of transitions. One good bye may break your heart, but it clears your vision, it removes the distractions, it eliminates what was not aligned with your destiny, and it creates room for the right people and the right opportunities to step in at exactly the right time. There are times when we don't even realize how much the wrong people are taking from us until they are gone. Maybe they were constantly draining your energy, constantly speaking doubt into your dreams, constantly holding you back without you even noticing, and once they leave, suddenly you feel lighter. Suddenly your faith feels stronger. Suddenly you begin to see new possibilities that were always there but clouded by the wrong voices. And that is why goodbyes, as painful as they are often necessary, because you cannot carry dead weight into a new season and expect to soar. You have to be willing to let go in order to rise higher. It's the same with opportunities. Sometimes we think losing a position or missing an opportunity means the end of our success. But what if it was actually the doorway to something better? What if God had to close that one job because He knew you were settling beneath your potential? What if He had to end that business deal because He knew it would chain you to small thinking? What if He had to let someone walk away so you could finally make space for the person who would love, respect, and support you in ways you never thought possible? The closed door is not the end, it is the clearing. The goodbye is not the final chapter. It is the transition into something greater. Every single one of us can look back and see moments when a door closed and it hurt deeply. But later we realized it was for our good. Maybe it pushed us to grow in ways we never would have grown. Maybe it forced us to discover talents we didn't know we had. Maybe it placed us on a path that eventually led to blessings beyond what we thought was possible. And the same God who did it before is the same God who is working now. So even in the pain of the goodbye, even in the sting of the closed door, you can hold on to hope, knowing that something better is on its way. So rather than resisting every ending, start to embrace them as part of the process. Start to thank God for the doors that closed just as much as the ones that opened. Start to see goodbyes not as abandonment but as divine alignment, because when someone walks out or something ends, it only means there is a space being cleared for the right person, the right opportunity, right door, and when that door opens, you will understand why the others had to close. Trust God's plan. He never subtracts without adding something better, because in every season of life, when something leaves, when someone walks away, when an opportunity fades, it is easy to feel like you are being stripped of your worth. It is natural to question why it happened and to assume that somehow you are being punished. But what you must remember is that God is not in the business of leaving His children empty. Every removal is followed by replacement. Every subtraction is followed by addition, and what He takes away is always replaced with something greater that aligns with His purpose for your life. There are times when you will not see this immediately, because faith is often tested in the waiting period, when what was taken has already gone but what is coming has not yet arrived. That in-between space can feel lonely, uncertain, and even frightening. Yet this is where trust is built. This is where you learn to lean not on what you see, but on what you know. And what you know is that God's character is faithful, His nature is good, and His promises are sure. So even in the silence, even in the waiting, you can hold on to the truth that if He removed it, He intends to replace it with something better. Think about how a gardener works. If you have a plant that is dying or branches that are not producing fruit, the gardener will cut them back, and to the eye of someone watching it may seem cruel. It may look like loss, but the gardener knows that the pruning is necessary to allow new growth to come. In the same way, God prunes your life. He removes what is not bearing fruit, and though it may feel like subtraction, it is actually preparation multiplication, because when new growth comes, it always exceeds what was cut away. We often mistake subtraction for abandonment, but God never abandons his children. He never subtracts with the intention of leaving you lacking. He subtracts with the vision of making you whole. So if you lost a relationship, it may be because he has someone who will love and honor you in a way you never experienced before. If you lost a job, it may be because he has a better opportunity that matches your gifts more fully. If a door closed, it may be because he has one ready to open that will lead you further than you could have ever gone on your own. And if someone walked away, it may be because their presence was hindering the very blessing he was trying to bring into your life. This principle requires surrender, because as humans we want to understand everything. We want to see the full picture before we trust. But faith is choosing to believe in the goodness of God even when the picture is incomplete. It is saying, I don't understand why this was taken, but I know you are working. I don't see what's next, but I trust you are guiding me. And that posture of trust is what opens the door for his blessings to flow, because God responds to faith, not fear. And when you trust him fully, he never disappoints. Many times we don't realize the beauty of God's replacements. Until later, we cry over who left. We mourn over what ended. But then a new chapter unfolds and we realize why it had to happen. We meet people who lift us higher. We walk through doors we never thought possible. We step into opportunities that stretch us and bless us beyond what we imagined. And we look back and say, I thought I lost something, but in reality, I gained something so much better. And that is the pattern of God's work in our lives. So the next time something is taken away, instead of asking why me, begin to say thank you for what is coming. Thank you for removing what no longer served me. Thank you for making space for the blessing I cannot see yet. Because gratitude in the middle of subtraction is the declaration of trust that allows God to show you his additions. And when he adds in ways that overflow, in ways that surprise you, in ways that remind you that his plan has always been greater than your own. Every ending in your life is never the end of your story, because when God removes someone or something, it is not rejection, it is redirection towards something better. Some relationships are only meant to be seasonal, and not everyone is called to walk into your next chapter. The doors that close and the goodbyes that come are not meant to break you, but to clear space for greater opportunities and the right people. And when you learn to trust his plan fully, you will see that he never subtracts without adding. He never takes without giving back something more aligned, more purposeful, and more fulfilling. So instead of chasing what walked away or grieving what ended, stand firm in faith. Let go of what is gone and look forward with expectation, knowing that your best days are still ahead and that everything being removed is only making room for the life God has already prepared for you.